everyone or something, or no? Well, if you introduce me, should I say hey everyone after, or just like leave it?
Say hi to me.
Okay. Oh, we're just like talking. Okay.
And good afternoon and welcome to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. Today is Thursday. It is Success 101. And you know what that means? That means that I highlight a young Caymanian in a field of study or a career, a chosen career, maybe an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter. It's really just about highlighting our young people that are the trailblazers that will be our leaders for tomorrow, because that is exactly what they are. And you know, I'm all about fostering them to ensure that we're in good hands, right? That's very, very important to all of us. It should be to all of us. Because you know what? We can't hang on to it forever, guys. You know that. We're getting a little tired. I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. I was exhausted. So I would love to know that there is another little Catherine or a couple of little Catherines doing the same thing that I do, loving the same things that I love, and making sure that it's carrying on, right? So welcome to the show. And of course, it's been a very busy last couple of weeks, but it's settled a bit, yeah. Congratulations to the packed government, and all that was sworn in yesterday, and just praying that everybody, just continues to work together for the good of our country. And once again, congratulations. Of course, you can always call me 943-3700. I'd love to hear from you this afternoon if you have any thoughts on your mind. All right, so a couple of little quotes before I get into the show today. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. That is a Chinese proverb. I live by that. I believe it. And I always tell people, you should try it. Try giving something to someone and watch it come back. It's so true. And I've proven it so many times in my life. So even if giving starts to feel like, all right, I'm going to give something away, see if I can get it back. And then it happens, if that's your reasoning, do it, because helping someone is really, so fulfilling, and it just makes you feel really good. Happiness isn't something that's achieved, it's a skill that's cultivated and practiced daily. Its mastery comes from serving others. That is so true. And of course, this is just in the vein of our elections, and to ensure that, we are on track to take care of the entire country, not to lose sight of that and forget that every single one of our citizens deserve to be attended to. When one door of happiness closes, another opens, but often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one that has been opened for us. That's Helen Keller. And that is so true. And that's from a blind woman who's saying, when you look so long at the closed door, we don't see the one that's opened. And you know what? Sometimes I say, there's a window that's opened and we're busy fussing about the door. We're standing about the, arguing about this closed door, and here's the big window that's right next to us. We don't even feel the breeze coming from the window because we're too busy complaining about the door. All right, so let's look around and see if some windows have been opened in the place of the closed door. And I always tell young people, keep knocking. Don't worry about that one that didn't open. If you keep knocking, something will, right? So that's my motivation for today. This is Thursday Success 101. I will get to my guest because I want to get into that conversation with my lovely Abigail Lindsay. Good afternoon, Abigail, and welcome to Straight Talk.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Abigail, so how I know Abigail, how I came to know Abigail is she is an intern with the Passport to Success program, right? And that is just one of your many kind of stints with some agencies on island as well, right? And I was just very interested, and we'll talk a little bit more about your experience with that. But I was really interested in bringing you on the show because this is a show where we do highlight young Caymanians, and I like to give you guys the opportunity to talk about your field of study, the area that you're interested in, because you are our future, and we're very interested in ensuring that we are ushering you through, fostering you, nurturing you, and bringing you through. So, Abigail, I'll read a little bit of your bio. Abigail Lindsay was born in the Cayman Islands. She's actually graduating with a bachelor's in human services studies from Elon University, and that's in North Carolina next month, and attended Grace Christian Academy from her primary school days, and then went on to boarding school in Ontario, Canada. And your parents moved to the island in 1992 from Scotland, moved here in their early 20s, like everyone else who just comes here for just a year. They decided to stay and build roots here, and so ended up having their children here, and you all are all a part of our tapestry. Yes? So that's just a little bit about you. I'll continue to talk a little bit more about some of your things on your bio, but yeah, so that's kind of how you came here. I came to be in KMAT.
Yeah, so my parents moved here. They ended up loving it. They couldn't see themselves leaving, and they created a home. And I'm so happy they did, because I couldn't see myself growing up anywhere else but here. It's just such a community, and I love being part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know your dad came like on a job, right?
Yes, with PwC, he got a job offer just for a year, and then he was supposed to go somewhere else. But then he got an offer to stay, and they made a decision to.
The rest is history.
Yep.
And he's still at PwC.
Yes, he is.
And and that in itself is kind of a story, a success story for him as well, because he's actually the CEO of PwC.
Yes, both my parents actually came growing from nothing, and they were working. My mom was in some union work, back working in a hospital, doing dishes. My dad went to college, and now he's a CEO, and they built themselves a life here.
Yeah, and so that must have been really something for you to see too, kind of growing up, because you were able to see him kind of chart his course, right? And so it wasn't all you weren't kind of raised with your father being a CEO of a company, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely was very different than my dad just growing up as CEO, and just knowing that, like, my parents were very big on values of learning how to gain things myself, to be able to work, be able to own. If I wanted to own something new when I was a teenager, I had to work for it. I had to get the money. Okay, sometimes they gave me gifts, but parents do. Sure. But most of my life, I grew up knowing, like, there is other people around you. There's so many things you could do to help the community. There's so much you can do, and that you actually have to work for it to be able to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so growing up with that work ethic, with that hard work, and seeing that hard work does pay off, I think it's such a necessary thing. And obviously you are an intern with Passport to Success, and that's a job that I've had for a couple of years, just working with young people that are, trying to prepare them for the working world, getting them work ready. And one of those things that sometimes is a challenge with programs like this is not necessarily having that ingrained in you, where it's like hard work pays off, work ethic is everything, but that is your background. So when people don't know you, they might not know that part of it, but that's a huge part of how you've come to chart your own course right now.
Yeah, I would definitely say my parents kind of threw me into doing sports that taught me discipline and values of friendship or hard work, and that if you show the hard work, you get somewhere else. You make new levels, you get higher up in the world, and it's just how everything can land in place if you work hard enough and you want it enough and you strive to have it.
Right. No, absolutely. And I see that you were a competitive gymnast for many years of your life. And so that would have also taken you in different arenas and having to deal with different people as well.
Yeah, so my mom and dad actually decided to put me in Mommy Me classes when I was really young, and I ended up just sticking with it because I really loved it. And my parents saw it as something to show me discipline and just to have a group of friends and show teamwork, leadership. And honestly, I loved it. There was times it was hard, but you have to stand back up and keep going. And honestly, it was a great experience to have, and I would do it again.
Yeah, and I see that you played volleyball, and you also played volleyball when you went away to school as well. You were team captain. You played basketball and rugby, so you were just like a sports girl.
Yeah, my family's very big on sports. My brother's the same way. If there was a sport we could do, we would play it. I've tried honestly almost every single sport my entire life, but those were my main ones. And volleyball, I still love to death. It's very dear to me, and I was captain, which I really enjoyed to have the opportunity to be a leader and to show other people that there is something to look forward to when you go, like to have fun, to get strength and everything about that. And then just joining basketball and rugby, I never thought I would do that in a million years. Thinking about me tackling someone, it would be insane to me. But honestly, like I grew to love it. I actually grew to really love it. And just having the stability of a team around you with rugby, trusting that your person to your right or to your left is behind you, is following you. And it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, and it sounds almost like it's life lessons, isn't it? That you're not just on your own here, that you're a part of a larger whole, and people depend on you, and you depend on people. And I think that that's a very good thing for parents, that parents that are listening right now, to kind of understand that, to involve your kids in stuff, involve your kids in extracurricular activities, even if you can't necessarily do it, because I'm not a sports person at all. And so my kids will tell you about piano lessons and acting and dance and choir, because I wasn't necessarily a sports person, but I took them to like softball clubs, and one of my sons plays rugby even right now. So that's a really good, I think, just good suggestions, and things that parents can kind of take on and say, you know what, maybe I could involve my child in something, because it keeps them out of trouble as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I feel like there's so many opportunities here that you could just go put your kid in a sport like Little League. I did that from a young age, and my parents got involved. They were the coach. And you don't always have to get involved, but it does show a standpoint that you want to work hard with your kid. And it does help the kid to strive more and want to do better because they see you there. They want to impress you.
Right.
And honestly, like there's so many things, even if you just get a couple of your friends, or a couple, if you're a parent and they're younger kids, get a couple of other parents together with some group of kids, take them to a basketball net. It doesn't have to be a paid event, because it is hard sometimes, but just be able to go outside and do something and show them that they have this community will help so much.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Now, the reason that I brought you on, I mean, there's so many things that we're going to talk about this afternoon, but one of the main reasons why I brought you on is because you are graduating with your bachelor's in human services, human service studies, and you'll be doing that next month. So you're almost there. But it's always so amazing and exciting for me to meet young people that are interested in the line of work that I do. And it's not something that's very common. A lot of people talk about going to law school or being accountants or being in banking, and you hear a lot about tourism. But this human services, social services, it's really, really such a noble profession. It's such a profession that takes so much heart. How did you come to figuring out this is what I want to do with my life?
Well, actually, watching my dad grow up, being an accountant and everything, like I was great at doing, I could have done that 100%, but it just wasn't what I was feeling inside. I couldn't see myself sitting behind a desk, just doing normal work. And I just wanted to do something more. Like I just had this feeling inside that there's something that I could do that's so different. And I found myself in social like studies and just like going to psychology classes and finding out all these new things that I just didn't know about when I first grew up here. And honestly, I love what I've decided to do. I can't wait to do so much with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is so amazing. Now, I see that when you were in high school, you thought you were going to be a surgeon. You wanted to do that, and you have this piece written. I realized it wasn't enough for me to just fix people and send them on their way. I like that. I like that statement.
Yeah. So I definitely, for a long time of my life, probably around maybe eighth grade, seventh grade, I was like, oh, I want to be a surgeon. Because I thought that was like, oh, I can help people that way.
Right.
And probably maybe around 11th grade, I realized, oh, like not every surgeon is like this, but a lot of it is like you go fix the person and then you put them, like you kind of move them away and they just kind of leave. So it's kind of like they're just a number, where I was very much, I want to know, why did they come in? Why did this person break their leg? Why, all that kind of stuff, where I realized, oh, I can do that with psychology or with social work, with all that side of it, and get to know the person and why they came in, why did they come to my office. And I just thought that was so interesting to me.
Well, that's so funny that you would say that, because I think, like, for me, I do remember just, being a little girl and feeling sorry for people all the time. And I remember my mom, I think when I was about 12 or so, my mom would say, poor you, you're feeling sorry for people and they got more than you. And I remember it was funny because I'd always say, oh, well, I mean, maybe she didn't have anything to eat today and I'm going to give her my sandwich, or I would have given away something. And my mom was like, where is it? Well, why did you give it to this person? And I'd say, oh, because, she didn't have it. She probably has more than you. You're feeling sorry for people that have more than you. But it was because there was this part of me that was always kind of wondering too, how are they doing? How do they come to have that problem? So you want to look deeper, right? And not the surgeons are doing amazing work and we need them. We're happy for them. But you're right, they're not kind of delving into the whole middle and working their way out. And so that, I call that getting in the trenches and getting, rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty with the details. And a lot of people don't get dirty with the details. And a lot of people are not interested in the details. And that's okay too. So, when I hear that, like, it just reminds me of that. Now, you've always been told by your friends that you like to listen. So you were kind of the advice girl.
Yeah, so ever since I was maybe 14 or 15, I used to go and hang out with my friends, and I'd always be the one to, maybe if someone was upset, to take care of them or just to listen, or even if it was a stranger, I would just go up and talk to them or help them if they need it. And then when I got into college, they continued saying all my friends always come to me for help, to talk to something, and they just say, honestly, this was the easy therapist moment. I could just come to you and talk about it, and which is what friends do. We should come together and talk about things. But I definitely think I have that quality, or I hope to have that quality when I'm out there working, to help people, and especially because listening is such a key thing that you need to do.
Absolutely.
Don't talk, like, not talking over people. Just listen to what someone's saying, and you can learn so much.
Yeah, that's true. And there's this thing that I've learned years ago. It said that the listener has more power than the talker, because they're privy to two sets of information, which is what the person is saying and what you have in your head that you know. So the talker is not, they're not in that position because they're busy talking. So it is good to really, listen and hear what people are saying. That's so important. You're absolutely right. Now, one of the main reasons that you did get into this profession, which is human services and counseling and social work, is because of mental health within the community. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I struggled a lot. My parents got divorced, and I didn't really realize that I was struggling with mental health because no one talked about it. And I find that that's such a huge thing that we need to work on, not just here, but everywhere in the world. Like, it's not just our community, but it's something we really need to focus on, because it will change a lot of lives. Once we start talking about it, other people will talk about it, and it kind of just starts to become a thing, something new. And we need to look forward to that beginning, because it will help us move forward so much, especially in our community.
Yeah, and we were talking yesterday. Yesterday is Wellness Wednesdays. I really try to address things about our health, whether it's physical, psychological, emotional, or just anything, mental health. And yesterday we touched on that. We talked about the Alex Panton Foundation, and there's an activity going on. I think it's a burpee hour that will be at Agile Fitness on May the 8th, and inviting people to come out, and all the proceeds will go towards the Alex Panton Foundation. And we talked about it yesterday a little bit. Coach Angela and I talked about how it's such, it's a stigma, right? And so a lot of people don't want to admit if they're having a problem. And so you're right, the conversation does need to be normalized. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, it is a hard thing to talk about. It does involve a lot of thinking, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings. But we talk about normal health, our physical health, and we're very open about that. So we should start talking more about mental health as it is, because it can be physical. It can eventually affect you physically as well as mentally. And I believe that honestly, if we could figure out the stigma around it and that just start talking about it, it could make a huge change, especially here.
And not to make it a bad thing, right? Not
Yeah.
so people don't feel bad about it. And I know in counseling we we have issues so many times with with men kind of feeling like they can't talk about their problems, or it's not a man thing to talk about their problems. So that's kind of another example of just normalizing feelings. Feelings are important, right? And normalizing that, and that I think is really crucial. So do you think that's the area? Like, what area do you think you're going to specialize in at some point? Because you're going to get your degree in a couple of weeks, and you're going to now be legitimately able to do some work and be called an area of expertise. Well, what would you think you'll focus on?
If you asked me a couple months ago, I definitely would have said I really want to focus on young adolescents with counseling. I really enjoyed working with the age group between like 5 and 10 years old. But now that I've worked with Passports to Success, I've had a completely different like just focus and everything. Just watching like these young Caymanians, 17 to 24. Like I never thought I could work with that age group. I always thought it would be really hard because of my age, I guess, at the time. But after working with them, I could definitely see myself doing something like Passport to Success because it's so important.
Yeah.
I think it could impact our community so much.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And I think you're right that those working with that age group, sometimes you feel like you want to, I guess, kind of catch things before it gets to a certain point, and that's definitely a lot of credibility there. But at the same time, there are instances where you have people at a certain age that still need that work because they've not had that work, or because they've kind of lacked some things in their life, or because they're at those crossroads in their life and they need that little extra, maybe just whether it's counseling or whether it's helping to professionally polish them or whatever it is. So I think you've done very well with the young people, and they've come to trust you and to know you, and that's really important, because when you make a difference in someone's life, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
So now I see that you've done a lot of volunteer work. You've volunteered with Meals on Wheels. What did you do with them? And this seems like this was done during the pandemic, or right outside of the pandemic, where it was ARC as well as Meals on Wheels. And this has to do with your school stuff as well, right?
Yeah, so my junior year, going into my senior year in the summer, I actually did a placement where it's basically like an internship, kind of what I'm doing now with Passport to Success, but I did it with ARC. And at the beginning, we started way back in middle of May. So COVID was still pretty fresh.
Okay.
And it was really interesting because I got an opportunity to help with the toy and clothing donations. So we had maybe around 40 or more families where they said how many kids they had, what they needed, and we would specify each section and we would have someone go and deliver it to them. So they have the opportunity to get clothes and have toys for their kids. And we also did a Shoppers, so Foster's gift card worked with us,
Right.
and we gave one to each of the family as well. And then my second part, after we finished the toy and clothing drive, we actually worked out of Deckers and did a soup kitchen. So we had so many routes, maybe 15 routes, and each one had about 15 different families or
Right.
groups of people in there. And we would get all the food, put it in the back of our car, and drop it to them.
Yeah. I know.
And then with Meals on Wheels, it was pretty similar, but we worked with more of the older crowd, and we did the same thing. I worked out of Ragazzi, and I was kind of the coordinator of which food need to go to where, because a lot of our older people do have many dietary issues or allergic or can't eat solids. It just depends. So I had to very much make sure everything was correct.
Right.
And then people would come and take it. And some days I would do deliveries as well. Or if someone canceled, I would jump in. And honestly, it was such a great opportunity because like I went places I didn't even know existed. And like just seeing like place that I just never would think of going. Like, it was just amazing to meet all these different people as well, and to see actually like part of Cayman that needs help.
Yeah.
It does, like it really does.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity.
No, absolutely. And I think because during the lockdown, I was teaching Zoom, Passport to Success Zoom, Ms. Carmela and I were. And so a lot of our students were actually, they benefited from ARC. And so we signed them up for ARC. And so ARC was taking food for them, the gift cards and all that stuff. And it was amazing. I really appreciate that. Such a great, acts of random kindness,
yes.
or something like that, right? Yeah, but just amazing, and just community things like that, the Meals on Wheels as well, taking care of our elderly population. We cannot do it without these entities, and so they're just amazing resources in the community. And it's really the organization that it does require for these things is so important, right? And being able to touch another person's life, so to me this is almost like the icing on the cake for your field of study, and to be able to, like you said, see these communities that you don't know even exist in this place that we call paradise, and all of the riches all around us, and then you're going into these neighborhoods and these communities that are definitely in need. So how does that, what's the reality of that?
Yeah, there's definitely, because of what I've been gone for maybe around 8 years now with going to boarding school and college, and I do come back with breaks and summer and all that, but this is my first actually really staying on the island and will live here and full time, and just being able to get the opportunity to go see the places that I guess you could say we don't have that perfect white picket fence that we all hope to have, which nowhere does. And if you do, tell me where it is, because it's very surprising. But it would just be a great opportunity for everyone. Just take a chance and go sign up for ARC, go sign up for Meals on Wheels, and you get to see those places that are very different than what we think. And getting just to meet those people, like, they were so happy, and you have those conversations with those people, and you learn so much more about your community, actually what's going on in the in-depth of it.
Right, because they give you a different take on it, especially when you visit like the elderly people. Like if you work with Meals on Wheels, those conversations that you have with them, I mean, sometimes you might even get stuck at a couple of homes because they're so happy that somebody has stopped in and they're ready to talk, and they're so rich with information. And I tell people all the time, we need an adopt a grandparent program here in Cayman. You're gonna be able to help me with that, because I see somebody just being able to help with all kinds of things. Abigail, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We will continue this conversation. You will stay with me, yes?
Yes.
We are talking to Abigail Lindsay. She is a young Caymanian that we're highlighting this afternoon on our Success 101 show. She is getting her bachelor's in human service studies in a couple of weeks. Next month, she's going into the States to graduate, right? You're going to be graduating in person. So that's exciting. We're here, we're talking about that, and I'd love for you guys to stay tuned and come back so we can continue this conversation and learn some more about why this young lady, whose people came from Scotland in 1992, has decided that to dedicate her entire life to the life of service. I love that. I'm so excited about that. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. This is your Straight Talk Drive at 5 show.
943-3700. More Straight Talk to come.
The camera.
927.
I tell you, technology is something else. So thank you so much for staying on. This is your Straight Talk Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. And I am talking to Abigail Lindsay, who was born in the Cayman Islands and has made Cayman her home since her parents came here in 1992. She's been here her whole life, and she's graduating with a degree in human service studies in May. And she's been working along with me at the Passport to Success as a Passport to Success intern, and we were just talking about all the things that she actually has been doing. Now, you've done a lot of traveling. I want to talk about that a little bit, but I also want to talk about some things that you kind of had to push through in your life that has been challenging, but has also been learning experiences as well in your kind of quest to get your degree. But now the traveling, I really want to talk to you about this mission trip to Peru. What was that about?
So we actually did it with Grace Christian Academy, and I was maybe around eighth grade, if I remember correctly. And we got the chance to go on a mission trip with about 25 of us, I would say, and a couple parents, including my mom. And we got the opportunity to go to Peru to do, we helped building some houses with the spackling to make sure that the cold air wasn't getting in or the rain in the high mountains. And we actually got the opportunity to go to an orphanage and to see all these young little girls and boys who were talking to us. And it was like back then I knew a lot more Spanish than I do now, and just seeing their faces light up. And we had a pizza party, and it was just interesting to hear their stories, where they come from. And we also got the opportunity to, maybe it was like 500 blankets we cut and did the little frills and everything, and we took up to the mountains where it was really cold, to a school where there was a bunch of families and kids who came, like so many of them, you see them running up the mountains just to get this blanket. And it was just so like life changing to me, because in eighth grade I was very young. I didn't know much about the world yet. I didn't know much details or really focused on that, and just kind of was like, oh, I'm traveling to this place, this is fun. But like after seeing that, I was like, there's so much more in places that you don't get the opportunity to see if you're going to tourist places. And honestly, getting that opportunity just to go somewhere that you're not used to going, and like the picture perfect place, it just changes your entire view of everything around you and what the world is like. And that was another major thing that made me go into wanting to help people, just seeing like their faces light up just because of a blanket, or just because pizza, or just even just to talk to someone. It was just such a great experience.
Right. And so imagine in eighth grade then, could that have been where that human service bug bit you? In the mountains of Peru,
Yeah.
when children are running up with their parents trying to get a blanket.
Yeah, I definitely like would say, because when I was younger, I just wanted to be a vet. I was like, oh, I just love animals. I want to help animals. But then I think when around Peru, I just kind of, something clicked.
I wanna
Something
help
just,
people.
yeah, something just changed. And ever since then, I've been on that straight road to helping people.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think being able to put it in perspective to the world that you were coming from, or that you come from, versus the world that people come from, that, you know, the basics, right? And going to an orphanage too, where, you know, you have children that don't have parents, that are living in a group home, and how fortunate your life is, and Cayman was, compared to seeing, you know, some level of poverty. Yes?
Yes, it was very different. The air, the pollution there, the buildings were just completely different. Just everything was very different than here. We are so lucky to be so built up and secure in many places here. We're not fully there yet, but we are much better than a lot of other places.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the other side of that, then you get to experience here on your island, where there's this beautiful life, and then within the midst of it, we also have our issues, and our poverty, or people that need, and lots more people need to recognize that and kind of be on board to right that wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a major thing that we need to focus on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, you being a part of this profession is such a plus. And I really hope that more people would be interested in this. And if, you know, all you listeners, there is a social work school. There's a school of social work at UCCI now. So you can actually, you know, study this locally, by the way. And that's something that is quite new as well. But a helping profession is a profession that I feel people will never ever want or need for work, because it's always available. And that's, I tell people that all the time. Like, you can go anywhere in the world and they will find a spot for you somewhere. If it's not in a hospital, a school, a social services agency, a prison. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be availability for you to assist. Now, I saw in your bio as well that you had some challenges growing up. So you were diagnosed with dyslexia when you were 9, but you might have also had ADHD, but that wasn't a thing then.
Yeah, no, back then, I actually looked back at my report when I actually got diagnosed with ADHD, that they actually specified there in the report, oh, it's dyslexia, but the ADHD comes from that. So it was only said maybe once in the full like summary of what I had.
Okay.
And it was very interesting to see like how different it's changed now, because back then it was just not thought of. ADHD was never even talked about or focused on. It was just I had dyslexia, which I did like could definitely see that. Like I did struggle. And the funny thing actually was my brother actually was the one struggling, and they never realized I was, which I
Okay.
wasn't. I was very good about sticking on things, doing something a certain way. I was very quick to learn how I needed to learn. And when we went and both got tested, it turns out I'm the one with dyslexia. But no, it was definitely a challenge in my life. Here growing up, I guess it's back then it was a lot harder for teachers or other people around you to spot it because it was not talked as much back then. But definitely now I think it's starting to be more talked about, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think what's interesting is I'm also reading is that another reason that it didn't affect you as much or it wasn't recognized as quickly is because you were so structured as a kid. And so being in gymnastics and then going to boarding school, your life was very structured until you went to college. And now when you went to college, now it was up to you to have the structure in place. And that's kind of where because you really struggled, right, with getting it together, and you had to actually take a break. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, so in between my sophomore and junior year, kind of, I ended up taking some of it included this summer, so it ended up almost being a year. And I just kind of took that time to figure out kind of what was going on with me, because I was kind of just like, wait, what's happening right now? Like I used to be like amazing at school, like just everything was so structured in my life. When I got to college, because it's kind of a free for all
Right.
and they don't have as much structure, it's kind of like, well, what do I do now? And I just took that time off to figure out my life and put it back together, and I did. And I figured out that I got retested, and it turns out I had ADHD. And originally they were like, no, it's just your anxiety and that's causing your ADHD. Even then, one of the psychiatrists said that, and I was like, okay, I'll try the anxiety meds. And it didn't work because I had ADHD, and that's what was causing my anxiety.
Right.
And once I actually found the proper counselor and psychiatrist, which does take time, it is hard to find someone you can connect to.
Right.
And once I did, I figured out everything, and not everything. I still have so much to learn about life,
Right.
but I figured out that part of my
I'm
life.
still figuring stuff out.
Yeah, I figured out that part of my life, and from then on, I just was going through college, and everything kind of clicked a bit more.
Yeah, it kind of fell into place.
Mhm.
And just for like parents listening or people listening, sometimes we don't know what's going on with us, and sometimes we do need to investigate. We do need to get to the bottom of it. And if you have a student or a child of yours that's going to school and they're struggling, sometimes it could be that they might have these issues or something, and you need to get them tested. Doesn't necessarily mean that they need medication per se, because sometimes people want a quick fix with medication. I don't agree with that. But I also don't agree with labeling a child bad or troublesome, or you know what I mean, like sticking them in a situation where they should really be trying to grasp learning opportunities. Maybe they're learning at a different pace, and so it's really important. I remember my brother his whole entire, like our whole entire upbringing. He's 2 years younger than me. My mom would just kind of think he was hard ear. They call it harden. Your ear is too hard, which he actually is deaf. Like he cannot hear. Like he literally had to get a hearing aid when he was 20 years old, and all those years we did not know that he could not hear. So there are so many different things that might be going on with a young person, and someone's not kind of paying attention to that because we're very busy. I mean, parents, I'm going to give you guys a break because I was a parent. I am a parent. I was a parent of young children, and we are quite busy. But we have to pay attention, and we have to investigate it and find out what's wrong because you found it out kind of as you were an adult. So the dyslexia was identified at 9, but it was so much more than that. And so, it was kind of you finding yourself in a crisis, trying to achieve something that's going to require attention, right? And to get a handle on whatever learning disability was in place, but you were able to find the resources to do that and figure it out. Because now you're going to be graduating with your degree. And had you not gotten to the bottom of that, that might not have happened.
Yeah, I definitely think like my parents were a huge part with my dyslexia because that's one of the reasons I did go to boarding school. They had a program there that was called, it was actually a class. Instead of taking a language, I took this class called Learning Strategies. And they actually take anyone who has like dyslexia, ADHD, any kind of learning disability, and they put you in this class with other people who are like you, and you get to learn all these different ways that actually work better for you because everyone learns different. Some people just have photographic memories, some people have to write things in color. Like it just depends on how you are. It's just who you are as a person and how your brain works, and it's just amazing to learn all those different things. It was such an amazing class, and it helped me so much with my dyslexia and the way to study and everything like that.
Yeah.
And definitely when I went to college, I definitely used a lot of those strategies to help with my dyslexia. But then after kind of the first year and a half, I was kind of like, something else is going on.
Yeah.
And I took the time and I figured it out. And then I went back, and I'm so excited to graduate.
And that's so good. Yeah. So what happens after graduation? What are your thoughts? You want to work for a little while, and then what? Any thoughts yet?
Yeah, so kind of a lot of things are going in my mind trying to figure out what to do, but I definitely think I want to work for a year, get some more experience, and if it's here or if it's somewhere else, just anywhere that I can do something, change something, and then after that, hopefully go to get my master's in social work, I'm hoping.
Yay!
Yeah. And then
I'm so excited to do the happy dance. MSW. Yes. I'm team MSW all the way.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, and then come back here and see what I can do.
Good stuff. No, that's great. You definitely have to work here for a year. We got to find something for you to do. We cannot lose that because there are reasons why you want to work in Cayman, and I want to talk about that. I want to spend a few minutes talking about this culture that you love so much. That the people. You talk about the people. You talk about how people are in this Cayman kind. Tell us about that. Why would Cayman be the place that you want to stay and work for this year before you go on and come back and make your home here, because this is your home?
Well, I couldn't even know where to start. There are so many things, but definitely the people is a huge impact of why I want to be here, why I love being part of this community. I've lived in 4 other countries, including Scotland after Ivan and everything, but just seeing the people there where I was, don't be wrong, amazing people. I love my group of friends, but here it's just, it's different. It's a different, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just when you come first here, you just see everyone welcomes you. Everyone wants you to, it's an open door. Everyone wants you to be part of your family. Like, even if they're not blood related, they are my family. My friends are my family. My other friends' family is my family. Like, everyone's just there no matter what. Like, if you're out and about and you need something, you can ask anyone or ask someone to come get you. They will be there. Like, everyone, you can just trust people. I love that about here.
Yeah, it's very safe. You do feel safe. It's a community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're so right. I mean, I was in Foster's, I think, like, a grocery store a couple of months ago, and I believe, like, I whatever the cashier said, and whatever the money it was, I think it was like maybe $4 off or something, and I think I had the money, but because I didn't have it in my hand, there's a lady behind me that handed me the $5. And I was like, listen, she's like, I know you from you were a little girl. You take this $5 from me. And she was so happy to give that to me. And it's really funny because she literally was like, look, I know your grandmother. I know your mom. I know you, like, you're a big woman now, but I want to give you this $5. And I just thought that was so sweet that, here's somebody, you would think sometimes you could be in another place in the world and someone wouldn't give you 25 cents to help you with that bill. You have to put it back. But $5, handing me $5 to help me with a, I just think those are moments when I know this place is definitely like something else. It's just like set aside from the rest of the world. So yeah, I definitely feel that. And growing up on the island, obviously, a lot of people. So all of the people that surround you are people that you've known practically your whole life.
Yeah, there's, oh, I could even name how many people I know. I go Foster's, I see 5 people I know. You go anywhere on this island, you will know people. And I love that. Like sometimes it could
But did you
be
go to
worried,
Foster's with me before?
oh yeah, and you know how many people we stopped and said hi
Right.
to. But I just love that, just that feeling of, and even just a stranger when you walk through, like they always say good morning or how are you doing, or even smile at you. And if you want someone, you're carrying something, a security guy will be like, oh, do you want me to carry that out to your car for you? Or, and I find I never really find that as much in the States or Canada or any other place. Like, don't get me wrong, there is some people who do that or open the door for you,
Right.
but I do find when I'm here, I get that much more like hospitality, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
where there always just someone there just around the corner to say hi or to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely don't feel alone. And I say that because I travel quite a bit. I've traveled to many places in the world, and I always say that some places you feel like if you literally dropped down, people would step over you to keep moving on their way
Mm-hmm.
and not even say, "Hey, are you okay?" And that is definitely not here. You definitely don't feel alone. You feel like somebody is supporting you the whole time. Your whole life, it seems like, it ever since you kind of started on your teenage journey to this point in your life, because you're quite young still,
Mm-hmm.
has been very much service. You've kind of done like camp counseling. You've volunteered with YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. So this is your path. This human service thing is your path.
Yeah, I definitely just, even when I was, what, 12 years old and I was still at the tennis camp, I actually came kind of like a young coach, kind of helped out with the younger ones and everything. And it's just ever since, just I love helping people and getting the opportunity to give back to community and to also meet so many different people, even a 5-year old, them telling you about how they grew up and like what their parents are like and just everything like that. It's just interesting to meet all these different people and hear their stories and hear where they came from on the island and what they think of it.
Do you think it's a good idea for young people on island, young people like yourself, from maybe 16 to 25? You think that it's a good idea for them to volunteer at some of the things that you've done? You think?
Yes, I definitely think it's a great opportunity. Like you get to meet so many people, so why wouldn't you want to do it? And like don't get me wrong, my brother isn't as big into volunteering as I am, but when it comes down to it, he does enjoy it. And when he actually is on his way and he's actually there, you see and you get the happiness and the warm feeling of it, and you do enjoy it once you're there. Like, okay, sometimes it could be hard to go and volunteer for some people, but when you actually get there and see the people and meet them and hear their stories or just anything, it just kind of just fills you up.
Yeah, but he's not going to be the social worker, is what you're saying.
Oh no, he's actually going to be a pilot. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we need those.
Yeah.
For sure, because we got places to go. Abigail, it's been really, really just a pleasure meeting you, period, for Passport to Success. You've been a pleasure, and you've been such a great help to us and resource to us, definitely. But also just knowing that you're a part of this profession and knowing that it's in good hands, and I can't wait to see, some of the things that you will do. I know you've traveled quite a bit. I see that you studied abroad in Australia. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I went for 1 month in Australia. We went to Perth, and
My friends live in Perth.
yeah, I actually have family on the other side, Brisbane.
Okay.
But we went to Perth and Albany, just further down south, and a couple other places in between. But we were actually, the class was learning about the Aboriginals there and how they've been kicked off their land, and we learned about their spiritual backgrounds, and we got to see so many different places that was sacred ground, but we had to get blessed in, of course, because you don't want to go in those places because it's very inappropriate and it's their sacred land.
Okay.
And it was just a great opportunity just to see so much different culture. Like, okay, the city is very different, very packed, but going out of the city and just seeing all the different like landscapes, all the sacred ground, everything was just beautiful, and it was amazing to get the opportunity to learn so much about it, because I've been to Australia a couple times before, like seeing my family, but I never knew anything about the Aboriginals or anything about that, and getting the opportunity to learn about the deep down culture of where it came from was amazing.
Okay. And so you studied abroad with what school? Which
It was
institution?
with Elon. So our school actually prides itself in study abroad. So you actually have to study abroad to graduate. It's part
Okay.
of our curriculum, kind of,
Okay.
and it just gives you a chance. They want you to experience the culture. You can go. I think there's like 100 different places that you can pick from with our school, and you go with a class of around, I think it's 30, and you go 2 teachers, and they pay for a decent amount of it, but you still have to pay for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it is a great opportunity just to see different places and learn about the culture of, so like, Australia is completely different than the States, or here, like, or Peru, like everywhere is different.
Yeah. What's different about it? What stands out? What do you remember the most about it?
I do remember that the people were very nice. The people were extremely nice, always happy, always smiling. And don't get me wrong, it was very expensive, just as expensive as here. But just going out and meeting new people, they were just always friendly. And we're like, oh, well, bye. Like, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Like, and we probably met 15 new friends over there, and I still keep in contact. And it
Okay.
was just a great experience. Just the culture of it, the food, just everything was very different, which I really enjoyed. And also just learning about the culture of the Aboriginals. Like, there was so much spirituality that I had no idea about, and it was so amazing to get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. So who did you stay with? Did you stayed at a hotel?
Yeah, so we stayed at hotels each time where we moved to a different place. It was part of the payment plan that we did, and we would share with one other person, and we'd each have our own place basically. But it was just a great opportunity to do it with my classmates because many of them were my best friends. So
Yeah, that's good. That's great. And they were all in the same program as you?
no, actually, it's a lot. Some of the programs you will find a majority of the same people if it is focused on business, because they will tell you what class it is before you go. And so, like the one in the Dominican Republic is tourism. So some places are more focused on it, but a lot of the classes does fall under a core curriculum. So it could be a bunch of random people. Like my two of my friends were in it, and they were in marketing and then finance. And my other friend is actually a physiotherapist. So it's kind of all over the place, which was really nice because you usually don't get that opportunity at college to kind of interact with, other than your friends, but interact with other people in different like majors, where normally I'm just off my little building in the psych building, like where there's only us, and it's very different. It was very nice.
Okay. So what would you tell a young person that, wants to, I guess, is trying to figure out if they should work in human services, and they just can't find their way right now, but they're kind of thinking, maybe this would be good. What would you tell that person?
Honestly, the best thing to do is volunteer. I think one, you give back to the community, but two, you kind of figure out where you want to go, and it's not hard. You can go find anywhere will take you. They love volunteers, and just going to see and learning different parts of the community, and maybe that will kind of push you a line to, maybe if you want to work with kids, or if you want to just kind of stick with Meals on Wheels and help the elderly. And just volunteering, you get to meet so many different people, and they'll kind of push you along and kind of show you the way a bit of like this Catherine, like showing me all these different things I can do on the island, what I could do after with my master's in social work. And it's just the chance of meeting people and volunteering. It just gives you a chance to kind of like figure out what you want to do, because don't get me wrong, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I still kind of don't, but the kind of meeting people gives you a chance to figure that out a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and what would you tell parents to, in the way to kind of support their children through this stuff? What were some of the things that worked for you that you're happy about that you would tell parents?
Honestly, just getting involved with your kid, like simple things, just going to maybe a basketball match or being part of the school. Like, such, my mom volunteered as an office person at my school. Just volunteering with your kids as well, like just interacting any way you can, even if it's just as simple having a 10-minute conversation when they come home from school, and you get to learn so much from them, and you get to also, they learn from you. It's how we kind of want to be a copy of you. We want to make you proud. We want to do all this. So it just having the opportunity just to talk to someone for 10 minutes. I do it with my mom still. We have right before bed a 10-minute conversation about either tomorrow or what I did today. And it's honestly, it's the best time ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think what we're talking about really is just making sure you build that relationship and that you do have a relationship with your kids because their future really kind of can be formed based on your input as well. And maybe they might need some guidance, and their friends might not necessarily be the people that need to be guiding them because I'm sure you got stories about friends and their advice and everything else.
Yeah, probably not for the radio as
Right?
much.
No. We don't want any details. As they say, the bodies are buried. We don't want the details. But definitely, I think that's why it's important. Because as a parent, I say that's why it's important to really be a voice in your kid's head because there's so many other voices there, and you just want to make sure that you're kind of balancing it out with the truth and with good stuff and information because we have a lot of information. And so why not share it with our kid? And then it kind of translates into this great friendship that you still have, even though you're not a kid anymore. So now it's like, why not have this built-in best friend?
Yeah, like another way could just be as simple because I know parents have busy schedules. It is hard. And when you get home, sometimes it is hard just to have a conversation because they're busy with homework or you're busy getting dinner ready. But even if you're just carpooling, like dropping your kid off to school, maybe not have him on or her on electronics or just kind of have a conversation, even if it is for 2 minutes. That 2 minutes
Right.
will change something.
Right. And turn off the radio then, for sure. Thank you so much, Abigail, for joining me this afternoon. That was Abigail Lindsay. She is a young Kimanya that I am, highlighting this afternoon on our Success 101 show. Graduating with her bachelor's in human service studies from Elon University next month, just in a couple of weeks, and is the Passport to Success intern at this time and just really ready to just jump into our community and just assist in any way that she can. So you heard her name here first. I'm sure this is not the last you'll hear of her name. And I want to thank you personally for just coming along into this profession and just making it great. I appreciate that for sure. And thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. And now understand that focusing on the past or future mindlessly is a waste of time. All that matters is how well I'm able to experience what I'm doing now. Make sure your now is okay, not focus on what happened yesterday. Let's kind of get over that and let's prepare for tomorrow. But focus on today. Be happy. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your family, your friends around you. Parents, listen to your children and listen to your community. Volunteer. Volunteer somewhere. Meals on Wheels, YMCA, ARC, whatever it is, volunteer and do your part to be a part of the solution. You agree?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Appreciate you coming on. And you guys have a great afternoon. Today is my Friday because we're not on Friday. So when the weekend comes, have a great weekend. Go take a dip in the sea and enjoy this beautiful place we call home. Because as you've heard from today's show, Abigail shared so many different experiences in different parts of the world. We really are a jewel, and we should value it and we should appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and have a great evening. This is your Straight Talk Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host, and I will talk with you again on Monday. Take care.
It's a rolling, not a stop. Watch, don't never stop. With a flow that got the block hot. Give my respect. I just took it left like a bandit. I can't move nothing, thinking of you in my noise, but you got a halo.